Hey guys, I'm Marcus. Welcome to another video. And today I'm going to show you how you can really perform data analysis or data science without using any coding at all. Well, if you just started your journey in data science or data analysis, you both think that you will need to master one or two programming language like Python or R in order to perform very good data analysis to impress your boss. But this is really not the case based on the technology advancement nowadays. You can really perform data analysis or data science without writing a single code at all, and that is the purpose of our tutorial today. I'm going to show you how you can really perform complicated prediction, data analysis, visualization without using any coding at all. And without further ado, let's look at what we need and how we can do that. So what you really need is a tool which is called Orange. And Orange Data Mining is a very powerful tool which you can download from the internet, and I'm going to show you how you can download that in a short while. And all the functions here are really drag and drop functions which you can focus on the data analysis itself without having worry about how to write a code. So at the end of this tutorial, you will be able to create a flow like this in order to predict, in order to make some predictions. And the example that we are going to make today is to predict the share price of Tesla based on some features. So we are going to collect some features from the data, and then we are going to make use of those data to make some predictions. And if you look at this chart in the trading view, you can see that Tesla has been moving up quite well in the past few months, and we are going to extract all the data of Tesla in the past 1 year, and then we are going to make use of those data to train our model with using our Orange Data Mining tool. And then after that, we are going to make prediction of whether the price will go up or go down in the next couple of days. So that is very interesting because you can do that without any coding at all, without writing a single code. You just need to put all the data into the Orange Data Mining tool, and you can get all the result really quickly. So what you first need to do is to go to Orange Data Mining. You just need to Google search it, and then you go to download, and then you look for the installer that is suitable for your operating system. I'm using Windows, so I have already downloaded Orange 2.26.0 and installed on my computer. So if you are using Mac or you are using Linux, feel free to install them on your computer. So take a couple of minutes to install them on your computer, and then after that you will end up in the window like this. I'm going to clear up this, and then we are going to do it from scratch later on, and then I'm going to explain you step by step of how you can do it, and then make some predictions of how the Tesla share price will be next week. And today is 26th of September. We're going to look at whether the price is going to go up or go down on Monday and Tuesday. So once you have installed Orange, you will probably have a window like this, and the next thing that you need will be the data file. We need the test data, and then we also need the train data to train our model. So the first thing you can do is to drag this file here. This will allow you to import your train data set to train your model, and then from here we are going to select the data that we want to import. But we don't have a data to import at the moment because we didn't actually extract some data from the internet yet. So to do that, you can go to a website called investing.com, and the dataset that we want to use is the Tesla dataset, which is a Tesla share price, open, high, low, close, and volume in the past 1 year. And to download that, you can come to investing.com, register yourself as a user, and after that you can select the data range that you want to download. And in this case, we are just going to select 2019 start date, 1st of September, and the end date will be today. If you apply that, and you will get the range of data that you want, and then after that you just need to hit the download button in order to have the data set. So now we have the Tesla historical data, and we probably want to have more features in order to predict whether it will increase by 2% in the next 2 days, or whether it will increase by less than 2% in the next 2 days. So if you click on the index component, you can see that Tesla is actually one of the components of NASDAQ, and we can probably also add in the NASDAQ data into the data set so that we can use it as part of our features to predict the label. So if you click on it, and you can also apply the same data range, and then you can download it. So I'm going to change the start date to 2019 1st of September, and then apply, and then I'm going to download the data. So since our target is to not to use any coding at all, because with using programming you can of course combine these two data together in a short while, but if you know about Excel, you can also use that, because I've already made an example of how you can combine the data in Excel. So I'm going to share with you this data in my GitHub repository. So after combining the data, you will have something like this, in which we will have the open, high, low, close, and the volume of Tesla. I've already calculated the high, low percent change as well as the open, close percent change to use it as part of our feature for the prediction. And also for the NASDAQ, I also have open, high, low, close, and volume, and I also have the high, low percent change and open, close percent change. And the last column, I have something that I have added additionally, which is whether one is representing that the closing price of Tesla at 2 days later is higher than the closing price of today by 2%. If the closing price of 2 days later is lesser by the closing price of 2 days by less than 2%, is going to give you a 0. So we use a formula to calculate 1 or 0 for the label here, and then you can see that we have the label all the way down until the last 2 days, in which we will not have any label at all, because to have the label for 25th of September, you need to have the closing price for the next trading day, which is 28th of September. To have the label for 25th of September, you need to have the closing price at 2 days later, which is I think 29th of September. But we're going to use our model to predict what will be the label for these 2 days, so that we know with this data we know that whether Monday is going to increase by 2% or increase by less than 2%. And we are going to also make use of this data to know whether later on next Tuesday is going to increase by 2% or less than 2%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the last 4 data as a trend data, and then the rest of the data, I'm going to take the last 4 data as test data, and then I'm going to take the remaining of the data as the trend data. So we're going to train our model based on these features, and then the model is going to be trained on based on label as a target variable. So then we are going to take these 4 entries as a trend data, but then we are going to remove the label, and then we are going to let the machine to make a prediction or guess of whether the label is going to be 0 or 1. So we have the 0 or 1 actual label already for on 22nd and 23rd, and we're going to compare against the prediction to see how good our model is. And of course, from the trend data we can already know how good is our model, but for the test data I also want to make it a little bit more fun to have the comparison between the actual data and the predicted data. And for the 24th and 25th, we really don't have the label available, so we are going to make a prediction of whether next Monday or Tuesday the share price of Tesla is going to get increased by 2% or not. Cool. So yeah, with this Excel file, I actually split them into the trend data and test data. So you can see this is our trend data in CSV format. I basically take out the open, high, low, close of Nasdaq because I don't think that is important. Then I keep the remaining data, and then you can see that at the bottom of it, we only have the data until 21st of September. So the remaining 4 that I have taken it out, and then I put it in the trend data, test data, and then I remove the label. So we're going to predict based on this data what will be the label on these 4 days. Cool. If you want to have this data, you can just go to my GitHub repository, which you can find at MarcusJohn123 predict stock price without coding, and feel free to follow me on GitHub, and you can actually download this data for your own use. In this case, we're going to use the Tesla historical data test, and then the Tesla historical data trend. So go ahead and download that, and then go back to our Orange. And so the first thing that we want to do is to import the trend data. So in this case, I'm going to select Tesla historical trend, open it, and then close this window. And then after that, we are going to select columns. So for the select columns, you can actually define what is your target variable, because in this case, our target variable will be the label. This is what we are going to predict, and the features are the factors or the explanatory variables or independent variables which we are going to use to predict this dependent variable. So I'm going to exclude our open, high, and low of Tesla in this case, and then we're going to look at how other features are going to affect the result of the label. So because we have so many features, we don't actually know which one of them are actually more important to contributing to the result of the label. So what we can do is to make use of the function in Orange, which is called rank, and then you can see that we have a gain ratio and Gini index. From here we can actually see that yeah, which features are actually contributing more in impacting the result of the target variable. So we can see that actually Nasdaq high low percent are actually not so important, and from here you can actually select how many best rank that you want to have. In this case I put it 6, and then I think I want to exclude out high low percent change of Nasdaq in our prediction. So I can go back to select column, double click it, and then I'm going to move it away from the feature. Cool. Now I can close this. So the next thing that you can do is from the select column, just pull out a root and then select test and score. And from here we don't have anything that we can see yet, because we don't actually have our model yet. So what we can do is to go to model, and then there are several models that we can use here. For example, we can select logistic regression and then connect it with test and score. And then if you double click again, you can see that we have the model logistic regression, and the classification accuracy is actually 0.549, which is 54.9%. So we can actually also put in other model, and then we can compare the result. For example, in this case, I also want to use support vector machines. And then probably I also want to use random forest. So you can see that this Orange data mining tool is very powerful, because you can just drag and drop all the models that you want to use, and it will automatically calculate the classification accuracy for this model. And in this case, we can see that actually random forest is really doing the best in terms of classification accuracy compared to other model. Yeah, so we probably want to use random forest for the purpose of prediction later. And after the test and score, you can actually have the confusion matrix. So what we can see in the confusion matrix in how well the model is actually doing. You can see that for logistic regression, it actually predicted 264 entries to be 0, and then it actually predicted entry label of 1 for only 2 entries. So that means most of the time logistic regression are trying to predict 0 instead of predict 1, but in actual we actually have 118 of 1 and then 148 of 0. So if you go to SVM, we can also see how many 0 that is predicting and how many 1 that is predicting, and for random forest as well. So you can actually select correct and select mismatch to see how many data that entries that is predicting correctly and how many that it is predicting wrongly. So for the confusion metric, you can actually have a data table, and then from here you can see what the model is actually doing for the random forest. If you change the confusion matrix to random forest and then select correct, and then we close it, and then in the data table we can actually see that at this particular day random forest is predicting 0 and the actual label is also 0. So these are all the values that random forest is doing correctly, which is pretty cool. So if you want to see all other data for other model, you can actually have a data table for the test and score itself, and then you can actually see that we have all the predicted value of all the model, logistic regression, SVM, and also random forest, and then we have the actual label at the particular day. Cool. So now we have our test and score, we know about confusion matrix, we know how each model is doing. Probably the next thing that we want to do is to do a prediction, but before that I want to also show you you can also use classification tree, which is also on the model for the purpose of the prediction. In this case you can select tree from select columns, and then you can use a tree viewer. So from the tree viewer we also can see how the model is actually classifying whether it's 0 or 1 based on the attributes. So I will leave it to you to explore it yourself, but just for information here that you can actually use classification decision tree in order to perform predictions. So we have talked about so much about prediction, and now we really want to do prediction. So for the select column, because we know the random forest is the best model in this case, we can select random forest, and then from here we can do a prediction. And then from the tree we also probably want to do a prediction as well, but we don't have anything to predict yet because we don't have our test data being imported yet. So what we are going to do is to go back to the data, and then we drag a file, and then from the file we are going to select our test data, which is a Tesla historical data test that is also available in my GitHub repository. Go ahead and open it, and then close it, and then select columns, and then in the select columns we're going to just make sure that we have the feature that we want to use. So if you go back to here, you can see that we exclude open high low and also the start high low %. So we have to do it the same here. Okay, cool. And from the select column we can just put it to the prediction, and it will do the prediction for us with using random forest and also tree. So if you just double click it, we will be able to see the result. So on this particular day, we know that based on the Excel data, on this 22nd of September, at 2 days later, the price is reduced from 424.23 to 387.79, which means it's less than 2%, and therefore you get a level of 0. And then on 23rd, the closing price is 380.36, and then 2 days later is reduced, is increased to 407.34, which means the share price is increased by more than 2%, and then you get a 1 here. So we have 0 and 1 on 22nd and 23rd. So what will be our prediction? So you can see that on 22nd and 23rd, our random forest is actually predict 0 and 1 as well, which is matched with our actual label. So which means our random forest is actually predicting quite well based on the test data, but our classification tree are not actually doing so well. So you can also see on, so for 24th and 25th, you can see that our random forest is actually predicting to have a 0 for 24th and 1 for 25th, which means that the share price on 28th of September, which is the next trading day, is going to increase by less than 2% compared to the closing price of 24th of September. And then for the next Tuesday, which is 29th of September, our random forest model is suggesting that the share price will be increasing more than 2% compared to the share price of 25th of September. We don't know yet until we see them on Monday and Tuesday, but then we can already see that our random forest is predicting quite well on the 22nd and 23rd. Cool. So go back to our model. Yeah, this is a basic model that you can save in your computer. So what you can do next is to include more features that you want to use, not probably some other features that you think that that might impact the share price of a particular stock, and then add into the training file, and from there you can train your model based on that. And the next thing you probably want to do is every day you change your test data so that you let your model to make the prediction for you. So if you know that at 2 days later it's going to increase by 2%, or 2% is just an example that I'm giving to you. You can change it to 3% or 4%, is up to you. But then in this example, I'm just going to use 2% as an example. So every day you can update your testing file so that you can have the prediction at 2 days later to help in your analysis. Cool. So I think I have given you an example of how you can use orange data mining to perform a prediction without any coding at all. I hope it is really useful for you. And there are actually a lot of other functions that you can use in orange data mining, not only for prediction but also linear regression, classification, image classification, image clustering, and so on. This is really a very powerful tool that you should really explore yourself. And if you like my video, feel free to click the like button, follow my channel, and in the next tutorial I probably will give you more example of how you can do prediction and data analysis without any coding at all. See you guys.